Hi there and welcome to today's edition of The Update. Previously, when looking at The Update, we've talked mainly about Ukraine. We're going to talk about something else today, as I mentioned last week. Today we were talking about recent developments in Ireland and what that means for Great Britain, for the Republic of Ireland, for Northern Ireland, for the European Union, and for America's involvement in Ireland and in the Northern Irish peace process. This is a kind of like a roundup of where we're at the moment, so I hope you find it useful and helpful. Thanks.
Okay, in the short term, in the immediate term, recently elections have been held throughout the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, the reason why I'm saying that and using that term is because often people around the world, and even people in the United Kingdom, don't really appreciate what the United Kingdom is. The United Kingdom is the combination of Britain, which is England, Scotland and Wales, and it used to be the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland until 1921. In 1921 it became the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which are the 6 counties in the north of the island of Ireland. The 6 counties were the last remaining foothold of Britain in Ireland. In 1918, or between 1918 and 1921, a war of independence was fought in Ireland to force the British to relinquish control, and this was successful. A Anglo-Irish peace treaty was signed in 1921, which meant that the 6 counties in the north remained part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and what was then became Northern Ireland. The reason why those 6 counties became part of the Union were that they were majority Protestant counties. So Ireland is a majority Catholic country, and Great Britain is a majority Protestant country. In Ireland, the settlers in the north, who had English and Scottish heritage, were Protestant in origin, or Protestant in faith, and they feared that if they were left to be part of a united Ireland, they would be a Protestant minority in a majority Catholic country. However, because the way that Northern Ireland was created meant that they would be a Protestant majority with a Catholic minority, and the entire system of politics in Northern Ireland for the following 100 years was designed to maintain this dominance. Protestants managed to prevail in every election and managed as a result to control access to housing, employment, and if essentially create a dual system of citizenship in Northern Ireland. The affairs of Northern Ireland were largely ignored until the late 1960s by most of the population of Great Britain and Britain's political classes, and only when Northern Ireland explodes into violence in the late 1960s did anybody really acknowledge what had been going on. The civil rights movement that developed in Northern Ireland during the 1960s, which was closely modelled on the African-American civil rights movement, was staunchly resisted by the more extreme elements in the Protestant community and paramilitary organisations such as the Ulster Volunteer Force, which had close connections to agitators like Ian Paisley, who we'll hear about more in a moment, sparked a civil war in Northern Ireland, a long-term and bloody conflict which lasted for 30 years and ended in the late 1990s with the Good Friday Agreement, which was negotiated previously by British Prime Ministers John Major and Tony Blair, with the backing of Bill Clinton, US President Bill Clinton. in the United States, there's always been a huge interest in the affairs of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and it's important to remember that these are two completely separate political entities. The Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland are two different states, essentially. The large number of Irish immigrants to America in the 19th century as a result of famine in the 1840s and grinding poverty and poor access to land, and a belief that America was the land of opportunity, meant that across America, in cities such as Boston and Chicago, there were huge numbers of people very, very angry about Great Britain, very, very angry about the British Empire, and very, very committed to a free and independent and united Ireland. And this has been reflected for well over 100 years in American politics. The Democrat and Republican parties have a large number of politicians who not only take a professional interest in the peace process that both parties supported and brokered, but they also know that unless they are actively promoting the interests of Ireland, then there's every chance they might lose their career in politics due to their angry electorates of people who still hugely identify with their Irish heritage. So that's what makes the most recent elections in Ireland very, very interesting indeed. Something has happened in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, which was never ever meant to occur. A Catholic nationalist party has won in the Northern Ireland Assembly vote. The Northern Ireland Assembly, based in Stormont, is based on what we call a power sharing agreement, that Catholic and Protestant parties agree to share power. Sinn Fein was always meant to be, and could always be, only ever be, until now, the junior partner in this arrangement. And the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party, was meant to always be the senior partner, so there would always be a Protestant First Minister and a Catholic Deputy. Well, this has switched around now. Sinn Fein, the Irish Nationalist Party, that was closely linked to Irish nationalist paramilitaries and terrorists during the long period of the Troubles from the 1960s to the 1990s, closely linked to the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, is now in power. Well, almost. It looks as if it's going to be difficult for the new Sinn Féin administration to form a government, because the DUP have now refused to become involved and are boycotting the government, which means that it might well wind up being ruled directly from London. Northern Ireland might be. What does all this mean? Well, most keen observers of Northern Ireland are aware that this moment has been coming for a long, long time. The demographics are not in favour of the unionist Protestant community. The Catholic population has grown more rapidly than the Protestant population has, and as a result, you have more and more people who are either Catholic nationalists wanting to bring about reunification with the South, or they are Protestants who have lost their fear, suspicion and trepidation of the of Catholic parties, which in reality there is nothing for them to be afraid of or concerned about at all. There is a whole generation of people who never experienced the Troubles, never experienced the kind of the blood and the hatred, the bloodshed and the hatred between both communities, and have a totally different perspective now on the problems of Northern Ireland. And then there is the exacerbating factor of Brexit. So, Brexit, the decision by the United Kingdom, which is, of course, as said before, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, to leave the European Union in 2016 created huge dilemmas with Ireland. Northern Ireland was part of the United Kingdom that voted overwhelmingly to remain in the European Union. Southern Ireland, the Irish Republic, is of course in the European Union. And the Northern Ireland Protocol, which was an interim agreement, signed by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, along with the European Union, stated that the rules of the European Union, the single market, which is an economic level playing field for all countries, would remain in Northern Ireland. This meant that the economy of Northern Ireland would be basically the same as the Irish Republic. Why? Well, except, of course, they would have the pound and not the euro. Why is that? Well, part of the Good Friday Agreement that was negotiated in 1998 said that there could be no land border on the island of Ireland. That means that you can't put customs checks, roadblocks, or anything of the sort between Ireland, the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland. The reason for that? Well, it's the sort of thing that terrorists and paramilitaries used to take shots at and blow up in the past. So all in all, a good idea not to have it. If you put a land border there, the Good Friday Agreement starts to break down, and the signatories of the Good Friday Agreement, many of whom are former terrorists and paramilitaries and know where large caches of weapons are still buried, they will consider themselves not bound by the Good Friday Agreement. And the Good Friday Agreement, more than anything else, was an armistice. It was an end to hostilities. It was an end to fighting. There are very good reasons why resuming hostilities in Northern Ireland, and as there would also happen on the British mainland, would be a very, very bad thing. So Brexit threw all this into chaos. Of course, when the chief proponents of leaving the European Union were agitating for this extreme act to take place, they didn't inform any of the people who voted for them that trouble in Northern Ireland might well ensue, and they perhaps didn't even consider it themselves. The British political classes have scant little interest really in what happens in Northern Ireland, and also alarmingly little knowledge and understanding of Northern Ireland, to the point at which the current Prime Minister Boris Johnson was unaware about the different factions that were currently in dispute in Northern Ireland. And the previous Northern Ireland Secretary, Karen Bradley, said that she didn't understand that when elections happened in Northern Ireland, they happened because people voted along nationalist and sectarian lines. That the normal rules of the normal system of politics that you experience in the rest of the United Kingdom doesn't function there, which really does show a kind of an alarming ignorance. So we have the prospect of a party in Northern Ireland that is supported by a majority that has always advocated reunion with the South. That doesn't mean that there's going to be an immediate referendum for reunion with the South. But it also doesn't mean that that referendum, which was considered unthinkable 10 or 20 years ago, is now unlikely, because it may well occur. We have a British politician in the guise of Boris Johnson who has told the European Union that there will be no hard border in Northern Ireland, between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic, which means that if there is a border, it will have to be down the Irish Sea, between the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland on one side, and the rest of Great Britain on the other, because Great Britain is no longer in the European Union. The reason why a border has to exist is because the European Union has rules that Great Britain has now rejected. They have rules on things like agriculture, foods. They have rules on, just as any other country, say the United States has these sorts of rules on between their borders with Canada and Mexico. They have rules on taxation. They have tariffs. So if somebody was to take a lot of very cheap, poorly made goods that didn't conform to European standards and ship them into the United Kingdom, that same enterprising person could move them from Great Britain, say, to Northern Ireland, and then across the border, which into the Irish Republic, because of the Northern Ireland Protocol, there effectively is no border there. And if you did that, then you could start pumping the European Union with cheap and regulated goods and start to destroy the single market across the European Union, and start to encourage other countries to break out of the European Union, which has been a long-term ambition of many anti-European British politicians, and that's the subject of a whole different broadcast. The Europeans will not allow this, so you either have to have a border down the Irish Sea, so goods going from Great Britain to Northern Ireland will be taxed and checked and inspected when they land in Northern Ireland, and then if they pass the test, then they can move into the rest of the European Union, or you have to have a land border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. It's getting complicated, I know, but trust me, we're nearly done. If you have a land border again between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic, you break the Good Friday Agreement, and potentially shooting and bombing starts again, and we don't want that. So unfortunately, Boris Johnson, who has a track record of being serially dishonest, has promised the Protestant politicians in Northern Ireland that there will be no border down the Irish Sea, because if there is one, they will start to feel that they're being shunted off to be rejoined with the Irish Republic. And he's promised the Europeans and the Republic of Ireland that there will be no land border in Ireland. And so he now is trying to undo the Northern Ireland Protocol in order to try to fix this mess. And he has been told in no uncertain terms by the European Union that Great Britain will face a trade war, an economically crippling trade war, if he does that. The British government is due to have a delegation from the United States Congress in the next couple of days, which I imagine will be sent with the express blessing of President Joe Biden. And I think, among other things, the British government will be told that it is very, very unwise, if it does not want enormous economic and diplomatic retaliation from America, that it goes ahead with its current course of action. So, the DUP, the Protestant party in Northern Ireland that has protested against a Catholic nationalist Sinn Fein being in overall control, has said that unless something about the protocol is done, they will boycott the Assembly at Stormont, and they will walk away and claim that they are essentially still the rightful government in Stormont, and that and that the Catholics are illegitimate. Here you have the makings of real alarming unrest and trouble, and it's something that, in typical fashion, no doubt the British government will walk away from, as it has done many times before. So we have the prospect, as a result of this election and a result of the chaos of Brexit, of, in the next decade perhaps, a referendum on a united Ireland. We have the extraordinary situation of a US president having to admonish a British Prime Minister and ask them to abide by the international, the legal law-abiding, legally binding international treaties they have signed. All of which is happening at a time when Western countries are uniting to fight or to aid Ukraine in its fight against Vladimir Putin. Make of that what you will, but I'll try to post another update in the next couple of weeks. Thanks very much, everybody, and I hope you found this useful. All the best. Bye-bye. One that's mirrored in the huge problems in the US healthcare sector and the difficulty that the seemingly intractable problem of attempts to create a free at the point of use healthcare service, which most other modern countries in some way, shape or form enjoy. The implications for the rest of the world, as I said, are stark. The organisations and wealthy backers who have managed to overturn Roe versus Wade will now be immensely emboldened. Perhaps they won't succeed in Europe, but they will try. Of that you must be absolutely certain. And wherever you are, if you're not in the US, watch the media that you consume and look for the messages that will no doubt be kind of dropped into newspaper columns and leaders in here and in op-eds on TV shows and radio and podcasts, because there will be an attempt to make the argument first for the curbing and reduction of abortion rights, and then perhaps an outright ban similar to Roe versus Wade. These things often tend to follow. And also, this might be a huge and important moment for the women's movement inside America and beyond. It's difficult to say at the moment. There has been, doesn't seem to have been the kind of spontaneous mass organising that happened when Trump was first elected in 2016. But give it time. It's only been a day or two, and no doubt there is a flurry of activity amongst the women's movements in America to organise some form of resistance. Okay, well, listen, I'm going to leave the update there. We're going to be coming back to that hopefully later in the week. Apologies, I've done fewer updates this week because, again, I've been suffering from long COVID and it's been kind of tiring. But, I'll get over that. Thanks very much, everybody. I hope you find this useful, and we'll be getting back to some regular history in a moment. All the best. Thanks. Bye-bye.